Howdy folks, Deacon Parsons here. A while back I was going through some of my correspondence and questions on my videos, and I found one about my pistols. So today we're going to talk about the pistols that you've seen in my belt since we started doing these videos. What I wear is a pair of these. This is a replica of an 1860 Colt open-top cap and ball revolver. Now you might have noticed that I have cartridges on my belt. Well, that's because these pistols have two cylinders. This is currently equipped with a conversion cylinder that accepts cartridges, 45 long Colt. Now, the way you change that is you push this wedge right here. You pull the wedge out, which allows the barrel to come straight off the gun. Then you remove the cylinder. Now the cylinder is two pieces. You remove the top, which has the firing pins, and it exposes the cartridges. Now originally this gun came with this cap and ball cylinder. Notice that you cannot see all the way through the cylinder. What you do is you put the loose powder in the cylinder, then you put a ball on, crimp it down, then you grease it, then you put a percussion cap on here to load, and the cap will allow it to fire. Now we're going to go through the loading sequence of this pistol, but first I have to reassemble it. So I put it back on, put that forward, and then place the wedge back in the gun that holds it on. Okay, now to begin with, when you have a clean cylinder, you've got to make sure that your nipples are clear. So I'm going to bring the gun to half cock. I'm going to put a cap on each nipple and fire the cap to clear the nipple. Now, this is an open top revolver. The rear sight is right here, a notch in the hammer. The front sight is right here on the front of the barrel. Okay, now when this cap busts and you cock for the next cylinder, it's going to want to fall down into the lockwork. So you have to give the gun a little flick every time you cock it to try to throw that piece out away from the lockwork. Okay, now we're ready to load the pistol. We're going to put some powder in from this powder flask. This is a standard charge of about 30 grains of 3F powder. Then we're going to crimp a round ball onto the powder charge. Then we're going to put some grease in it. Now the powder, of course, is a propellant. The ball is a projectile. The grease is there for two reasons. Number one, it helps lubricate the pistol. Black powder fouls very quickly. Number two, the grease helps seal the cylinder. See, because sometimes under recoil the bullet can move, and you can get what's called a chain fire, where more than one of the chambers goes off when you pull the trigger. Now, if it happens to be on the side of the pistol, all you have to do is change your drawers. If, however, the cylinder below the barrel happens to go off in a chain fire, then the gun blows up and your friends get to call you Stumpy. Okay, I've placed the gun at half cock. And now I'm going to put my finger over the measure and measure out my powder. Then I'm going to pour the powder into the chamber. Now I put my round ball there. I move it under the rammer and I ram the ball home. Now you can't see it, but that cut a little piece of lead off of the round ball. And that's what we want. That tells us we've got a good seal. Now, I got to go through and do this 5 more times. Now you can see each cylinder has a round ball rammed home. It's now time for me to put in the grease. Now this grease is some special stuff my wife makes up for arnica. It is 1/2 beeswax and 1/2 lard. Now some people use beef tallow, some people just use straight Crisco, and there are of course some products made especially for black powder that you can buy. But the important thing is that you lubricate the gun and you help seal the cylinders. I don't want to be stumpy and I don't want to have to change my drawers. Now, you go through, I got kind of excessive on some pieces, but then you go through and you make sure that the cylinder turns freely. You've seen in the cowboy movies, the cowboy spins a cylinder. What he's checking for is something that's going to cause the cylinder to bind up. Now I'm going to get some paper towel to clean this excess off. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the cap on and we'll be ready to go shoot. Howdy folks. Well, we've left the house and we're out at a friend's house that lets us use his pasture. Right outside of Bison, Kansas, the vacation capital of nowhere. Anyway, right now we've got the bad guy set up. I'm going to fire these pistols with the cap and ball cylinders in them and we'll see what we end up with. Well, here's the first 12 shots on the target. Well folks, that's the 1860 pistols at 7 yards, 21 feet. That's 150-year-old technology. This is what we used during the American Civil War. Now there's some folks, some SJWs recently saying that maybe it's time for another armed revolution. Folks, in the American Civil War with this technology we killed about 750,000 people. If you're stupid enough to make us do it again, the body count's going to be a whole lot higher. Now, I'm going to go ahead and fire these cylinders with the cartridge conversions, and we'll see what we do there. Okay, with those 10 shots, fired less than target worthy, had 3 more complete misses, but all the rest were very good shots. With a .45 caliber bullet, that person would have gone down. Well folks, that's what the pistols do, that's what they're like, and that's what happens on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of February when it's 60 degrees out here in the middle of nowhere. This is Deacon Parsons saying, love your maker, love your mate, and do what's right because it's right, and devil take the hindmost.